Rossi on the tail now of Marc Márquez. They race down the straight, over the start and finish line. Here comes Valentino Rossi.
Here comes Rossi and Marquez right in beside him. Marquez going for the outside line now, down into turn one. The outside Rossi though will try and come back on the inside. Oh, and then Marquez goes through on the inside.
Marc Márquez Alentá was born on February 17, 1993 in the small town of Cervera in the province of Lleida, Catalonia, Spain. From an early age, Marc grew up in an environment deeply connected to the world of motorsports. His father, Julio Marquez, was a passionate motorcycle racing enthusiast, often spending weekends watching races either in person or on television. His mother, Rosa Alentá, while not an avid motorsport fan, always supported her children's interests as long as they were positive. Marc was not the only child in the family. He had a younger brother, Alex Marquez, who would later become a professional racer himself. The two shared a close bond from childhood. They often played together in the yard, riding small bicycles, challenging each other in adrenaline-filled games. For Marc, the sound of engines and the smell of fuel were an inseparable part of his earliest memories. At just 4 years old, Marc began riding his first mini-motorbike, a gift from his father. Initially, the bike was only for casual riding in open fields near their home. However, his natural talent was soon evident. He showed exceptional balance, lightning-fast reflexes, and an unusual confidence when leaning into corners. By the age of 5, Marc was already competing in children's motocross and dirt track events in Catalonia. His father became his mechanic and small-scale manager, while his mother handled daily needs and ensured Marc kept up with schoolwork. Even in kindergarten and elementary school, Marc displayed a discipline rare for his age. Teachers described him as energetic, enthusiastic, and highly social, but with an intense competitive streak. Even in casual playground games, he always wanted to win. "I never liked losing, even when playing football in the schoolyard," Marc recalled in an interview. In 1999, at the age of 6, Marc entered official mini-moto championships in the Catalonia region. Though small in stature, his racing technique amazed spectators. He had a sharp ability to read the racing line and a fearless approach to risk-taking. By age 8, Marc had already claimed numerous regional titles. Thanks to his consistency, he became well known in Spain's junior racing scene. He also dabbled in super motard racing, a combination of asphalt and dirt tracks that demanded elite technical skills. Family support was crucial during this period. His father often worked extra hours to fund the expensive racing costs, bikes, gear, and travel expenses, while the family carefully balanced schedules so Marc could still perform well in school. The year 2010 marked a turning point when Marc decided to focus on road racing, full asphalt track competition. He began participating in the Campeonato de Catalunya de Velocidad, the Catalan Speed Championship. Despite facing older and more experienced riders, Marc impressed with his performance. By 2004, his talent caught the attention of the Catalonia Repsol team, a youth development squad connected to higher-level competitions, including the CEV Buckler, the Spanish road racing championship, the gateway to MotoGP. In 2007, just 14 years old, Marc made his debut in the CEV Buckler 125cc class. The first year brought numerous challenges, adapting to more powerful bikes, understanding complex race strategies, and handling professional-level competition pressure, yet Marc learned quickly. Although he didn't win the championship, his consistent midfield finishes caught the eyes of race observers. He became known as a fearless rider, unafraid of aggressive overtakes even in tight corners, traits that would define his career. Just a year later, in 2008, Marc's talent earned him a spot with KTM Repsol in the MotoGP 125cc class, his first step into the pinnacle of motorcycle racing. Despite being a rookie, he managed to secure points in several races. 2010 became a breakthrough year. He achieved his first podium in the French GP and quickly gained a reputation in the MotoGP paddock as a rising star. Media outlets began following his journey, and sponsors saw his commercial potential. Even as a teenager, Marc had a unique racing style. He was famous for leaning so far into corners that his elbow touched the asphalt, a technique that would later become his signature. At the time, this style was rare, shocking many competitors and fans alike. Marc also had exceptional racecraft, not only setting fast laps, but maintaining a strong rhythm and executing overtakes at decisive moments. Marc Márquez's early years were marked by a blend of natural talent, relentless work ethic, and unwavering family support. From a young boy in Cervera riding a mini-moto, he now stood on the threshold of global success. By 2010, Marc had become one of the most promising young talents in the 125cc class. The dream of becoming a world champion was closer than ever, and all of Spain began to pin their hopes on him. The next chapter will reveal how he claimed his first world championship title, navigating through challenges, injuries, and unforgettable moments that shaped the racer we know today.
Entering the 2010 season, Marc Márquez was no longer just the new kid in the MotoGP 125cc class. At only 17 years old, he had already become one of the championship favorites. Riding for the Red Bull Ajo Motorsport team on a derby machine, he had the full backing of his crew. Sponsors were lining up, and the media's spotlight was now squarely aimed at him. The season began dramatically. In the first 3 rounds, Marc struggled to adapt to the bike's setup, managing only one top-5 finish. But the turning point came at the Italian Grand Prix in Mugello, where he claimed his very first 125cc victory. From that moment, his confidence skyrocketed. After Mugello, Marc became an unstoppable force. He went on a 5-race winning streak, Silverstone, Assen, Catalunya, and Sachsenring among them. His aggressive style, refusal to give up, and ability to read cornering lines made him a nightmare for his competitors. Of course, his boldness sometimes led to costly mistakes. At Aragon, he crashed after forcing a maneuver through a tight corner. Still, he bounced back quickly and ended the season with an incredible 10 wins out of 17 races. At the final round in Valencia, Marc Márquez was crowned the 125cc world champion. He became the second youngest rider in history to win the title, defeating strong rivals like Nico Tirol and Paul Espargaro. In 2011, Marc moved up to Moto2 class with Catalonia Caixa Repsol riding a suitor. Many doubted his ability to adapt. Moto2 bikes were heavier, more powerful, and filled with experienced riders. The season start was rocky. He failed to reach the podium in the first 3 rounds. But as always, Marc learned fast. At the French Grand Prix, he scored his first Moto2 win, setting the tone for the rest of the year. From then on, he dominated, winning 7 of the next 9 races, closing in on championship leader Stefan Bradley. But fate intervened. During free practice at the Malaysian Grand Prix in Sepang, Marc suffered a massive crash. He went down at high speed, sustaining an eye injury, diplopia, that caused double vision. This forced him to withdraw from the remainder of the season, ending his title hopes. His recovery took months. There were genuine fears that the injury could end his career entirely, but with intensive rehabilitation and sheer determination, Marc made his comeback. The 2012 season became his redemption story. Returning to Moto2, Marc came out swinging, winning the opening race in Qatar with authority. That year was filled with spectacular moments, including legendary rides at Phillip Island and Motegi, where he charged from the back of the grid to victory. His combination of raw speed, consistency, and mental resilience made him nearly unbeatable. By the end of 2012, Marc Márquez clinched the Moto2 World Championship with 9 victories, earning his promotion to the premier class MotoGP. In 2013, Marc took on one of the biggest challenges in motorcycle racing, joining the Repsol Honda team to replace retiring 2-time MotoGP champion Casey Stoner. The expectations were massive. Critics questioned whether a 20-year-old rookie could compete against giants like Valentino Rossi, Jorge Lorenzo, and Dani Pedrosa. He silenced the doubters instantly. On his debut in Qatar, he finished 3rd. At the second round in Austin, Texas, he made history as the youngest ever MotoGP race winner, breaking Freddie Spencer's long-standing record. In MotoGP, Marc brought his extreme riding style, leaning so far over that his elbow would scrape the tarmac. These impossible saves from near crashes became his trademark, shocking fans and rivals alike. Analysts quickly ranked him among the aliens, a nickname for the sport's fastest, most untouchable riders. But unlike others, Marc blended raw speed with razor-sharp racecraft. He knew exactly when to attack, when to conserve tires, and when to launch a last-lap assault. The 2013 season was the stuff of dreams. From 18 races, Marc won 6 and stood on the podium 16 times. His late-season duels with Lorenzo were some of the fiercest in MotoGP history. At the Valencia finale, Marc Márquez secured his first MotoGP World Championship, becoming the youngest rider ever to do so at 20 years and 266 days old. Marc Márquez's rookie triumph wasn't just a personal milestone, it marked the dawn of a new era of MotoGP. He proved that courage, skill, and relentless hard work could topple even the most seasoned veterans. But the real test was yet to come, defending his title, battling fierce rivalries, and enduring the physical and mental toll of racing at the very top. The next chapter will reveal how Marc went on to dominate MotoGP, shatter records, and face the most intense competition of his career.
The 2014 season became a landmark year as he convincingly defended his crown, securing the championship with 3 rounds to spare and setting a record of 10 consecutive victories. In the years that followed, more titles came his way: 2016, 2017, 2018, and 2019, making him a 6-time MotoGP World Champion in a remarkably short period. However, starting in 2020, Marc's journey was derailed by a series of serious injuries. First came a broken arm at the opening round, requiring multiple surgeries and marking the toughest period of his career. Subsequent injuries included concussions and recurring diplopia, double vision, forcing him to miss numerous races. The career that had once soared to incredible heights suddenly plummeted, and retirement even seemed like a real possibility. Yet his courage and fighting spirit refused to fade. By the end of the 2023 season, Marc made a monumental decision to part ways with Honda, the team with which he had won 6 world titles, and join Gresini Racing Ducati. Despite being a satellite team and offering far less salary than Honda, Marc saw it as an opportunity to prove himself again. The 2024 season showed rapid improvement. He secured 3 race wins, several podium finishes, and ended 3rd in the championship, his best result since 2019. The next step was joining the Ducati Lenovo factory team in 2025, riding the fastest machine on the grid. The 2025 MotoGP season became the full-circle comeback story for Marc Márquez. From the opening round in Thailand, Marc was flawless, scoring maximum points in both the sprint and main race, taking an early championship lead with 37 points. He extended his advantage in Argentina, again sweeping both the sprint and main race. By the first 10 rounds, Marc and his brother Alex had locked out the top 2 spots in every sprint podium. Marc claimed 6 Grand Prix victories: Thailand, Argentina, Qatar, Aragon, Italy, and the Netherlands, with several perfect weekends, taking pole position, winning the sprint, winning the main race, and setting the fastest lap. His dominance was crystal clear in Aragon, where he topped every session: practice, qualifying, sprint, warm-up, and main race, matching a feat he last achieved in Germany 2015. In doing so, he also reached a personal milestone, his 99th career pole position, now just 1 away from the magical 100 mark, potentially making him the rider with the most poles in Grand Prix and MotoGP history. The domination rolled on to his 200th Premier Class race at the German GP, Sachsenring, where he took pole, won both sprint and main race, set the fastest lap, and celebrated in style with a unique victory gesture. The peak moment came at the Czech GP in Brno, where Marc took his 5th consecutive win, becoming the first Ducati rider ever to achieve such a streak. This extended his championship lead to 120 points over his brother Alex. By July, he had already scored 8 race wins that season, further cementing his control over the championship. Now, Marc stands on the brink of history, an 8th MotoGP world title, 9th overall, which would equal Valentino Rossi's record. Legendary racer Giacomo Agostini even stated that we should kneel before him, not criticize him, in tribute to his extraordinary achievements. From here, Marc's strategy is clear: race more conservatively, maintain his rhythm, and minimize risks to preserve his lead, even if that means not winning every race.